Steve Okasebi say season we a league of coaches to say the maybe near discuss your Premier League now you Jose wa Alex Ferguson wa Papa Wenger nie you Rafa Benitez at Liverpool. In fact, that time Alan Pardew Alan Kabishli Mukrano a Juma no mo level of you know Madruno. Satan na David Moyes ashen a long career at Everton. They don't know better than Everton for solo. One go for coach bia na no mo de bape no stadium ha e mom. So that time they league of coaches. This is one of the seasons I able league of coaches.
Wow.
And when I'm so confident said your league you know obenya points be. Who's my cause as a your better league was over last season points, you know. What do you had here? Now, Hearts of Oak bought a difficult game at home. They say difficult because they are playing the best team in the league per the league table. The best team, no.
Lions take it at 10 points out of 12. No, the lead. Hearts of Oak and take it at 8 out of 12. Has the third.
On the road, Pando out of Lions for whom? Because Kotoko are bent on winning the league after 3 seasons at Kotoko league. No more on Bejano. No be any Kotoko punish Pando out of Lions at 3 points. No, they came to Kumasi. It is a game Kotoko a boy a pa but and your gamer now who clearly is as a Kotoko winning. And no draw no koi. Sani a bully uko opponent or Jilly Gribi now could if Yashan or above Yanuashan. Sure. Unim so muko share 11 wonders 4-0. How are we?
Wow.
And we need 2 games vie. A man kura sa number of points na 10 from possible 12.
Yes.
But 2 no drop here. In fact, a 1 point gain because ordinarily they should drop the 3 points. There's a Kodi Kotoko.
Yeah.
And Wabaje Bakuto no mama Kotoko drop it 2 points. And the penny had to folk abo 4 games.
Yes.
Has and lose game. Well, winning you know.
No, I draw.
And what draw me. So has 8 points.
Not that
8. 2 victories,
2 draws.
2 drawn games, and then they have 8 points. Pando 10 points. Bashir Hereford and his charges. Bashir Hereford and his charges will still go into this game with a mentality say defeat the lose because on has about right will keep the distance between the 2 teams. But Utimisha has they are why stand it. So they will go in not to attack us for giddy. They will go and steady. Me catch us say on them rancher din ko say Kumasi na yakoromunya hotere mam ko giddy. Yesterday game na ni hu say kwan da baby dia. Ni akofa ni asaba echi. It again no man city deep so defend you. But omo making sure so omo amasi in the middle. Epe control. Eja Ismail Ado say only the distributor and controller in the game. Omo makaran takenye boss no. And na last minute and kabuzapani omunya penalty review anya.
Yeah.
So clearly they have one of the best coaches in the league. Didi our problem and Didi problem no zapani. I am ya. A branch anything Ade Abdul Karim no. Was slotting into House of Folk team no as if he's been there for years. How I was slotting into House of Folk a DM role no. And boss up position in the house no. Na nan wo ko pray e bro mo call bichim no. And pay my checks on available e ha me pa buja panyi. Lions of one no. What the best midfield no crash here mo kra no. They still want to gain control over your top midfielders. And Abdul Karim enye available. So that is something that may trouble House of Folk. The absence of Abdul Karim. Ever trouble. Not just that. PK, Kevin Sesibe, and available. Black Stars number 1 goalkeeper, and available. But an idea, so Black Stars goalkeeper, and available. Yamun she because Solomon Agbesina or Bedano. Ne level was so, but issue say, a free say. Last season, you have a chance your kobo Monday special Nambu on that competitive game that.
Wow.
Senya Sadia was a if we Benjamin, in fact, turn on more for Benjamin Sarno. We will GDA passes and I see that you dream keeper and no prior one number for because the performance our Africa no kodai no. None can be Black Stars ahead of all the other local goalkeepers. So Agbesi eba be dem enti e ho ne de in terms of the level of the goalkeepers can be any problem but the activeness senke last season and I Sheriff Shaib and I say Kwasin Ketia I can sit here and conclude say has been considered but I see them to kasa because one of the best goalkeepers in our league apart from injury you know on your bad goalkeeper at all.
Yes, sir.
Makacho say had to folk. And were fantastic defense.
Yes.
But they have a troubling attack. And unim say Kotoko ebo nations game no. No one consider. Now Obeiko has 4 games are unconsidered goal no.
Wow.
Because standing game on the basket bono. Kotoko bono one consider because Kotoko 3 games unconsidered goal.
Okay.
But has the enemy catcher say so match that impressive defensive organization and unit with scoring because 2 goals scored in 4 games. Abuja and yet the enemy catcher say no cry be catcher down for there. Yeah, upa be catcher. Say ubufu ho a actually wa out you dey because as me pepe kan na no no because for you to score 2 goals in 4 games, HSA, you are not averaging a goal per game. And an intelligent coach like Bashir Ford, I did when you know Bakacha boys know say, Omko 2 games be on Shabako. It Mumfan says I game, you need game now, when you go. Next one, go. And when your coach or psychic players with Sanyo Mana, and my boys deliver. It is particularly attack, no. But attack is on the Obama defense nice midfield nice solid in Karim Enyo. I know a problem kakra. Also has Eto Frank Abraduku. We all said it as Onya one of the top scorers in our league because in the 28 games of Bodima Vision, you know, or 3 goals in 28 games. Enye who's Abu Japani. Hamza Isano ewo record say Oshe, especially in the first season in the league. Last season, my 6 pair. And Prince Kwabno Usu, account. So I'm for goals in the ma. I want to expect to say wingers, no Martin Kakari, Maulu last season from the wings, so she says goals in the league at my house. Yes, but so many goals, Libby, about the house numbers and what was happening. Based on house defense, no more. So has a dear baby when he was a win for us. Okay. But has strikers, no. Echo that said, yeah, Omane Ho United, Omo die, Oman sorry. And Omani Bechem, Om die, Oman sorry. So Omasa could die because the total organization of Pando Out of Lions are better than these teams in it, you know. Almost bet 0-0 drawn game, maybe if has Anshegoa. If they are able to prevent us from scoring, which based on 2 games that has Anshe goals, you know, on better template, you know, and they can even do it better. But how should as a Didi Wakasa upon game now say or working on the attack or working on goal scoring near code training plano, a lot on goal scoring. If they are able to attack and eventually convert some of the chances only created into goals, I can tell you, sir, me who win. The Continental Club Masters in this particular game, but they should be careful because their opponents will come in. Pando Out of Lines intelligently will come in and say, yeah, Niako Fosso a drawn game this particular fixture.
Pepe, Medasipi, I have come at 87.9 FM Victory GPL show, and I'm going to the Brems. Oh, me bow, but my name is Home Rassia. Me ba. So, ye go so with 5 of the Ghana Premier League, no, and ye ship no. Mediama any dreams said ye boys in a cano. Nafi has any head of lions has ever what it is to stop lions.
I was going to say Nyame adom watching very entertaining Ghana Premier League game and ebenya hwe no na o share Kotoko matches on my body season ni nyina very interesting talking points in aba. We share against Brekum Chelsea, Heart of Lions, and then maybe any Ghost Stars. Nations are proving a very hard nut for Kotoko since Omoba Ghana League. Now, I think the closest Kotoko ever is and Kaomo fat win was that game officiating decision be marred by rain. Kotoko called down by a goal, fight it back by no 2-2. Eventually, penalty corner by a 2-2. No, I was here. Nation team no keep consistency, and coaches are more honing in idea. And there are some boys here to say Emmanuel Ano. He's one of the names I think it's a Ghana League here. I also see any corner here from Bechemi United up to Nations FC. No, onye stagnant. He's always improving. Razaf since ne Emmanuel Sekufo, for me a defensive player, and also enviable. Now, most of the clubs are more defensively or more. Your league in Abuja, you're saying a league of old in IBM. Because club will be able to be certain departments be or there are about as many as 5-6 quality players be able to me and your move. Now, Kotoko all to play for. Was started very well. Now Africa no also aspire the boys on the confidence in all. But I'm much cheap. So what Johnson Smith ne Baku Grevens there. Kasim Mengo wo bench abuzia. Difficult. Difficult. So we game me many aje say nyame aduma eba TV so. A game that a best serve the hype on around game and omo in around continency area brankets no where your game also omo kwhwe game no your game but he na results na ko wan na benya win no
Obisa me question am about was out there
abusia near nations aye over Kotoko in recent season chess omo the upper hand they are the team omo gina Fapime was say Ubeka said based on recency and then past results you say they are the team Ubeka so mo winning. But they are Kotoko they but different from the men who in Kotoko in the last 3 seasons. So this might be different for nations. And if jeans be or what send you more Canada I see Kotoko breaking that gene. And Enkoyets are one goal be na Kotoko beshe. As I see them winning resoundingly Abranke say Monday game no so crucial.
Has Heart of Lions.
Has a problem. Kese baako.
And
then say how has na nkasa betimi are finding a way to score. And how they will find a way to score against Heart of Lions.
Okay.
Ono ankasa pekwan a ono abo no obo no betimi ahye goal. No san pekwan obehye goal etia Heart of Lions.
I don't want the Lions ya na Edins
Abusia. You see, so once a Ghana league na IFF name why dem bia. Aya pebre ne busa say players no more design or Heart of Lions also yeah team now what keep it the same players for almost 3 seasons. Very few na free. Now share Lawrence here or that poor imu Abusia. The most annoying goalkeeper of Ghana league in them. Delaying tactics or number 1. So imagine say Bia or my taking lead against us of folk. No more whining down time. Abandon defensive partnership now my form Abusia is strong. Now me put the Heart of Lions almost strongest area of their team now. And yet defense and cry about Abane Lawrence Dino. The midfield. Abusia more 2 musketeers be midfield they will stop at nothing. They run throughout the 90 minutes. Into a more ball no ball near ding. Unya ball na they close you down. Unya ball na they close you down. And no more experience of Kojo being junior. And no for Freeman Liberian Abeka. So attack no and it look more like a balanced team.
Okay.
And yes, that is easy. Omako should be 4-0. 4-1 against 11 Wonders.
11 Wonders, yeah.
And almost dreams. I work Pando 1-0. So, almost 4 more
draw.
Yes, from last season, 10 points from 4 games. Abusia, and you're bad. and you're bad. And one thing I need you with this season, and say, I said, there's some level playing ground to be where you league in terms of venues, you know. Or you don't want Obetimania. So a gamer I would want has to pull something. You person has a pulley. That is. I would say a gamer is a draw. But two teams, you know, the be clinical. I take it the few chances I have be winning. But a game I would say maybe a baby am tea. Me call for a draw in that game.
Steve, I draw a game no. Saraf, was it good evening? Watching from Atonsu, a big win for Asante Kotoko tomorrow. Edu Yabeji, Onosone dia Odia Benye. Mamencha Kofi Adzema, black man. Kofi, debi awosha from Pig Farm, Accra. Mo Nyamisha na onyo kese pa. Rasti Baba, was it good afternoon, Japani? Hope you are fine with the crew.
87.9 Kumasi.
I need more updates from the Blues camp. I'm listening live from Tafu. Okay, I see. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we foreign that. Akama Sports is airborne. Buakwa Agogo, Jordan and Jiku are my best players in the World Cup. In the World Cup qualifiers. Rude boy. And so dear, watching you guys live from Denyame. Japani market on the wall. Had to folk would do what Asante Kotoko couldn't. Accra Hatchefok will beat Pando Heart of Lions by 2-0. Phobia will be a ye. Akoma Sports, no size. Somewhat Dramani. And so dia Wadiaba. Any. Saraf.
Yes.
Kotoko Airborne Nations. Dr. Kwame Sports Complex. Abrankese. Hatchefok. And so Airborne has Babo Monday. Lions.
Nations are disappointing me since the start of the league. Accra.
Or more disappointed in themselves. Said you no more start no more in Yanasa.
Nations
almost restarted.
Nations above 4 games. 4 points. Averagely 1 point per game. Almost 3 goals. Almost I concede 4 goals. This is not Nations at all. This is not Nations at all. And it's a bit surprising. Nations, in terms of Nations, are about 2 games at home. Oma pick 4 points at home. 1 win, 1 draw. Oma she 2 goals at home. Oma concede 1 at home. Nations hasn't, for me, this particular season. Emmanuel Ano should actually 2 goals so far. Games are 4 games and your boss so far. Odi etutu Kumasi Asante Kotoko hwa. Kumasi Asante Kotoko about 3 games. Washe 3 goals on conceded goal. Ukuta 7 points. Relatively, Kumasi Asante Kotoko a form no yet better as in the Nations.
Sure.
But head to head between these two sides, if Nations.
Yeah.
If you are looking at it from form, Kotoko form no better. Ocean from the angle of head to head between these two sides, Ube realizes Nations ahead. Now, in the last Nations versus Kotoko 2-0.
Last season.
Nations versus Asante Kotoko 1-0 Bakusu PMO 2-0.
So munya double of Asante.
In the last 4 games Bono. Nations were 3 wins
and a draw.
And Kotoko and 1 draw. In doing so, Omashe Kumasi Asante Kotoko 2-2. Omashe Kotoko 7 goals in the last 4 games of Mabo. Kotoko Ashe managed 3 goals against Nations. Every angle, Nations a beat them.
Yeah.
But Nations' problem they say they allowed some players to go. Into Ibeja Karim, Mama Karim, I call Heart of Folk. I do not know whether adequate replacement they had it. But in Kawo Shedia, Johnson Smith, and Kasimingo, in terms of coaching and the pedigree, these guys are there. Now, Kotoko, unim African born. Kotoko is a bit Kotoko. I think is it to experience with dreams. Ebwa Kotoko. Inti or say ni last interview or say ni experience with dreams. Guide some of the decisions with Kotoko. Inti ebra auto players be na ye criticize no. He knew exactly what it is. Into why Kotoko assess Kotoko for one lineup more this particular season. Steve, you have not paraded one single say we use lineup we are Asante the same lineup. No, he's always changing the lineup. And the reason
squad now is
yes, I was on manage squad, you know. Said about wait me compete with Africa as I compete with even though nonsense for criticizing, especially for some of John John friends player now upon Johnson upon here, you know, criticizing. But in reality, they are now more than idea. No can say now they deserve to have done that. Now, tomorrow, say nations, if nations fail to win, say nations aren't winning game now. Pressure be call almost so pa. I tell you, it means that to have so but nations pa last season near him say if not for anything at all, nations were good at home and nations were good at away. This particular season, what is happening? Again, Ama nations air form or more bresser. But I think that against Kotoko, psychologically, it's easy for Johnson Smith and Kasimingo to tell them, Kotoko, dear, Mamunim, Bahebia, and Queen. Yane Kotoko, you call it me called Babaya Rakrani, a quack or Kotoko. It's easy, so best psychological, and I think that they can do it. In the end, I say, Stivo, it's difficult for Stivo to say they will win against nations. Me, as a stars over here, say a form quantity Kotoko will win. But
winning handsomely.
No, handsomely into me because I say Kotoko.
That was what he said.
Yeah. It's a fair minute. Yeah, idea. What can I do on the fair? Say, you know, yeah, and I say, if Kotoko will win, it will be a very narrow victory. But I see a drawn game on the score. For me, I look at for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, a defeat in Yema. You know, when you are preparing for work, after that game, it will take you how many days? Number work.
Work give me a 19.
Until about a week and a separate one. Then you can tell you want to mean come to a local game, no pick defeat now they quack shower. And doesn't even help psychologically. Supporters crown and wow say Mumra any nations or mass but Mumra better work. Hey, you know, you can't do that. Say nations, who say nations? I know what John Walker say. My Bobby be any gold stars. My Bo nations, I am ready for work. Who losing my nations? Psychologically, supporters crowd will be down.
Abeko saying,
draw.
Famiko Accra Sports Stadium. Hatchevok, Heart of Lions.
Lions betray bibi kakrebi betray bibi wetiwaka krebi wa baba yara stadium, and you could clearly see Kotoko bobo ni nyina ye bibia Bashiri for say ne yere what's it? The free man can't say na mama na kobo game we say masa pamuno on fancha mo da Bashiri for so on fazi on fancha Kotoko da. But it's painful. Send the
put it aside.
Now, man can't say, no more than Nakubogi. What we are most one quay. Will be I want to see could walk or give us a crowd. I almost have been to Kotoko on that score and can't Kotoko so much. But they are condemned the beer. But Minim Bash has the Omunia. Timi nim se bi om de omunya will be in this resano bas Kotoko has your money issues but it's going to be a very difficult game at all level. And now the issue is that
when Bash bodies top size unim okay sana Bash back out because I has to folk the adwuma mano also my friend and this you know I think the previous one say has a contacting so me fair adwuma na he was thinking about it. Bash is the type as who share these big size or you're motivated to play. Ya no person prove it from say coaches no better than me. Oh, and now he's one type because or Casentino. I know person will be abenya the bragging rights against him. Lions what obia OTP say Lions this season a bit me compete for trophy. You know, you were right, and I think that going so we call into this particular game once again Bash because Obeko could prove your point, but we know. So Didi versus Bash. Wow. Didi Dramani versus Bash. These are top class coaches I will look at seeing by experience, by familiarity with the local game. Now I'm very familiar with the local game. And I think that is going to be a very, 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 very good game. But I see Kotoko ye be want me and breaky. I want to be breaking Lions down, and you look at on that day how Dogley or more Bash deployed Dogley in the game. Dogley who said a position at all ball on the day how if you look at Aban how we deploy in the game. If you look at the approach to the game, you could clearly see Bash yeah na say nyadia Kotoko
yeah.
In the same approach, I see say Bash go into this particular game not to lose. I don't see Lions beating Heart to Folk. Heart to Folk. Econo want me and think outside the box like what Bash Bejina Bash no Kotoko no boss or meet me a boss and it was going to be difficult because now Kotoko were finding it difficult to break Lions game. And I think that once again we may see that side game ended draw. I won't be surprised at all. Okay. I see Bash come with the same thing. Obe overloading Finfino. I feel Kotoko were trying to use the wings and it wasn't and working. The same approach. Once again, Bash be saturating Finfini be choke or the ball if Finfia Emfa. How should try and use the wings and then more attackers should be sharp. Few chances in a so man take care once again. Be the same trend. Be be yes, obi anshe go. I foresee a drawn game in this particular game as well.
Saram.